I'm a child of the motherland, born and raised in Mother Zambia, land of refuge and a home of peace. To many you need a place to go where they are free. Disagree and we may argue.
We may disagree and we may argue.
But we have never been at war.
Never, never, never.
In spite of all that we have been through.
Yes, yes, yes.
We are still one Zambia.
One nation under God. My Zambia, my identity. This is who I am. It's who you are. My Zambia, my identity. This is who we are. It's who we are. Let's know each other. Let's love each other. Oh, Tishibane. Oh, come on now. Yes, yes, yes. Tishibane.
God has blessed us for a reason.
Oh, yes, he has.
All we have is not for show.
It's not for show.
No, no. We must never take for granted.
Never should we take it for granted.
All this peace we know, it's all by the
Grace of God.
Take a look at other places.
Oh, come on now, Israel.
All they know is fighting war.
Afghanistan, the Taliban.
In spite of all that we are going through.
And we've been through a lot, folks. One Zambia, one nation under God. My Zambia, my identity. This is who I am. It's who you are. My Zambia, my identity. This is who I am. It's who we are. Oh, let's love each other. Oh, let's know each other. Oh, let's embrace each other. Oh, I love it. Oh, love it, love it, love it, love it. Oh, come on now. Come on. Love it. Oh, I you have to listen to this last part here. Oh, I love this.
This is our home, a city of refuge. Let's be proud of who we are and of our land.
My Zambia,
Arise and shine, for your light has come,
my Zambia.
and the glory of Jehovah is upon you.
Oh, man.
Zambia, arise and shine, for your light has come.
Yes, yes, yes.
For the glory of Almighty.
Oh, come on, sing it now.
My Zambia,
My identity. This is who I am. It's who you are. Come on. My Zambia. My identity. This is who I am. It's who you are. Let's love each other. Oh, let's embrace each other. Let's love each other. Oh boy, let me tell you. Guys, sorry. Sometimes I get carried away. When I hear that song, I feel goosebumps all over my back. It puts a pep in my step and it spreads a smile across my face and it ignites the spirit of patriotism. If it doesn't do that for you, then I feel sorry for you. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Incidentally, I have lobbied. I don't know if it's going to be successful, but I have been lobbying for Israel and his wife Nalu to sing this song at the forthcoming inauguration of the 7th president of the Republic of Zambia, President Hakainde Hichilema. This is, I mean, I've been in the background trying to lobby. Now, I don't know, I'm not a connected guy. I'm just telling you what I'm trying to do. I'm not sure if it will work. I hope it does. But I have been speaking to some people and asking them, please, whatever you do, add these 2 people to your list of performers on that day. This beautiful song, it's a clarion call to patriotism is what it is. A call to ignite the spirit of love, of country, and duty to this nation. That's what this song is about. This song is not a partisan song. It's not a song that leans one way towards a particular group of people or a political party. Oh no, this song is a generic song that speaks to every single province in this nation, every single solitary Zambian that lives within the confines of this great nation. Love it. Nalu, Israel. I love you too. Thank you for writing and singing such a beautiful song. Bless you. Okay. Before I get into my little thing tonight, and as many of you know, I rarely come to you this late because I have to do it from my office, and it means I just have to stay back and hang out with you guys for about an hour and a half, so before I get into it, I'd like to do a couple of shout outs to some of you. Louis Chanda says, thanks again. Next time you will be, oh no, I doubt that very seriously. I doubt it. I doubt that. And Mumbi Rogers says, it's a nice song. It's a beautiful song. And Simpungwe says, we pray that it works. Well, let's pray that it works. For those of you that are connected, those of you that rub shoulders within the corridors of power, those of you that have any pull in this new administration, if you know somebody that knows somebody that is connected to the planning committee, please tell them, sort of nudge them and sort of whisper in their ear and say, hey, what do you think of Israel and Nalu? It's a pretty good team, huh? All right, let's get into it. I only have a few minutes with you. I'm trying to be here for only maximum 25 minutes, if that. Let's get into our topic tonight. And really, it's centered around this question here. Was President Lungu a good president? Now, we are now living in a dispensation of freedom of speech. That's not to say that we should be irresponsible with this responsibility. It's not to say that you can say whatever the heck you want. We still have laws in place that govern and guide us, but within the confines of those laws, we do have a bit of leeway. And I think tonight, for me, I feel it incumbent upon me to share my views with you. And many of you know that I try to the very best of my ability. I try to be as respectful as possible. I try to be as cordial as possible, but telling the truth at the same time. And to answer this question, there are several things we have to look at. Let me begin by saying that when President Lungu first came on the scene, we all had an idea about who he was. Somehow the media created a narrative that we had a president that was meek, a president that was reluctant to grab the reins of power for the sake of being power hungry. Now, some of you need to hear that again because some of you just totally misunderstood that. Let me say that again. we had a narrative of President Lungu that gave us the impression that here is a man who was meek. You know the word meek? Meek means non-aggressive, non-confrontational. A man that was soft-spoken, and that a man that was reluctant to forcibly grab power for the sake of power. That was the narrative that was created within our minds. And so over the years, President Lungu, he had this persona of humility, this persona of meekness, this persona of a man that was cool, calm, and collected. But underneath that, human nature being what it is, underneath that, the longer he served as president, the more we began to see the cracks in this facade. And really, truly speaking, it was, to a degree, it was a facade. I think every one of us have different moments where we began to see the cracks. For some of you, it may be a different moment or a different line. But I can only speak for myself. The day that I began to see the wheels fall off the wagon was when he was in Kitwe. President Lungu, I'm talking about. And he was addressing, I suppose, miners, people that worked in the mines over there in Kitwe. And he seemed to be very angry that Mr. Hichilema was, and he used the word incorrigible. Not incorrigible, incorrigible. Someone that is incorrigible is someone that is mischievous. Muntu shumfwa. There are some children that are incorrigible. And when the president used that word in an attempt to describe Mr. Hichilema, and President Lungu said, Uyumuntu aliba incorrigible. And then he uttered the words, and this, when he said this, it was like a light blew up in my face. It wasn't like a light turned on in a room. It wasn't like you walked into a darkened room and reached over for the switch and gently turned on the light and the room becomes illuminated. No, it wasn't like that. When he said the words that I'm about to utter to you tonight, it felt like a light blew up in my face. When President Lungu threatened and said, when I become president again, I will make sure that I end his political career. Now, some of you glossed over that. Many of you heard that and you thought, oh, well, that's just another threat. But underneath it all, that utterance was so telling. It was so revealing. It had a sense about it that was unsettling. Because really what the president was saying was, you are coming so close to become president that I will do everything within my power to destroy your chances of ever becoming president of this country, even if it means taking you and sending you back to prison. That was when I knew that President Lungu was not a good president. Guys, the presidency is not like a monarchy. When you have a system where you have a king, queen, and you're stuck with that royal, and there's not a thing you can do about it. There's not a thing you can alter. There's not one iota of difference that you can make, because that man or woman is king or queen. There's nothing you can do about it. But that is not the story of Zambia. Zambia being a democracy, when we heard, at least for me, when we heard President Lungu utter those words, I will make sure that I put an end to his political career. I knew then in that moment that it was no longer about serving this country. It was no longer about staying up at 2 o'clock in the morning and thinking about how one can better the lives of the Zambian people. No, it was no longer about that. It was about self-preservation by any means necessary. And that, my friends, is how tyranny begins. When a leader begins to think that they are infallible, they are immovable, they are beyond reproach, and their subjects are nothing but that, subjects. When a leader becomes so consumed with power that all they see is self-preservation, then you know that this leader has outlived his usefulness. There's an old saying, power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. Oh, I've got to say that again. That's a famous saying. Many of you know this. Power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that is where we were as a people. When our leaders begin to think that we, the electorate, cannot do anything about it, they become blinded by power. And they no longer see what is plainly in front of them. Now, you could argue that, well, President Lungu did a lot of great things, and he did. You could argue that President Lungu was the type of person that was not very vocal, and you saw him more than you heard him. But those are things that a president shouldn't really do. A president should be consistently heard from. A president should communicate on a consistent, regular basis. A president should respond to crises. You know the plural of crisis? The plural of crisis is crises. It is not crises. Just thought I'd throw that in there for a moment. I didn't feel that our president was as vocal as he should have been. And therein lies his conundrum, is that to a degree, I felt that President Lungu almost concealed himself behind controversy. He didn't really want to talk about stuff. Whenever some catastrophic thing would happen, his ministers would talk more than him. And then all of a sudden, as a people, we got to a place where we began to accept it because it became normal. It was almost as though we knew it was innate. We knew that, well, so-and-so has happened. Our president will probably not say anything about it at all. Now, that's a dangerous place to be. And that's a lesson for future presidents. That is not the way to run a country. Are you hearing that? Did you catch that? A president is supposed to have an open line of communication between himself and the electorate, between himself and the people. Now, of course, that's not to say that we hear the president speaking every 3.5 seconds. No. But it is to say that when there is an issue, an occurrence that affects the whole nation, the first voice I need to hear is the president's. I don't want to hear the Minister of Local Government and Housing. I don't want to hear the voice of the mayor. I don't want to hear the voice of the Minister of Home Affairs. When something happens in the nation that grips the soul of the country, the first person I should hear from is the president. Because the president sets the tone. I want you to get that. That's really, really important. Let that sink in for a moment. The president's voice, his thoughts, his vision sets the tone. I'll give you an example. And I said this today. They keep calling me. The other day, President Hichilema said something that almost immediately you saw the manifestation of what he said. You saw it on the street. President Hichilema said, President-elect Hichilema said, you are free as a citizen of this great republic. You are free to express yourself, of course, as long as you stay or stick within the confines of the law. You're free to express yourself. You're free to wear any type of shirt that you desire, any type of color, any type of regalia. Almost immediately, on the street, especially here in the CBD, in the market, almost immediately, we saw people of different political persuasions walking around with different shirts. There was a time, folks, there was a time, and this is sad, and I'm so ashamed to say this, so ashamed, because I used to see it every day. I've been here for 33 years. I've seen a lot of things here. But there was a time during President Lungu's tenure that people who wore red, or people that aligned themselves with the United Party for National Development, they could never walk through City Market and make it out alive. It was impossible. If you made the mistake of wearing red in City Market, and that was your fashion choice, and you walked through City Market, guys, you would be harassed, harangued, and catcalled. One word from a president that says, don't vilify your friend for wearing a specific color or for them to be associated with a specific political grouping. Don't do that. Don't vilify. Don't hurt somebody. don't hurt anybody because they show you that they belong to a different political party. The moment he said that, almost immediately, I saw it. I saw it. I saw it today. People now are walking freely with their colors. Of course, you have a few pockets of these violent cadres that we are trying to do everything within our power to snuff them out. There is still a remnant of cadres. There's still a grouping of cadres. There's still a core of cadres that want to be unruly. And one can only hope that the authorities, the police, will do everything within their power to contain them. But it starts with leadership. John Maxwell, and I'll close with this. John Maxwell once famously said, "Everything rises and falls with leadership." If you look at what's going on now in Afghanistan, where you have multiple hundreds of thousands of people, even millions, that are fleeing that country because of a radical Islamic terrorist organization called the Taliban. How do you think they got to that place? They got to that place because over time the Taliban grew. It grew. It became so big that it almost became uncontainable. This is the reason that this issue of Qaddarism has to be quashed before it's too late. And so tonight, I can only pray and hope that our president reflects on his tenure. He did a lot of things right, but he did so much more wrong. I do tell you that, even though some of you don't believe me, I do tell you that I am pro-Zambian, non-partisan, but pro-Zambian. I love this country. I do. But to see a leader vengefully target a citizen because that citizen wants to serve this country and is that close to becoming the president, that all of a sudden that citizen becomes persona non grata. All of a sudden that person becomes an enemy of the state. They first of all went after him and said, well, this privatization thing, he must have had a hand in that, so let's blame it on him. Then they went after his wealth. Then they said, oh no, he's selfish. Newsflash. Humanity is selfish. You know why? Because we are in a fallen state. Have you ever wondered why churches are not perfect? It's because they're run by people. Do you ever wonder why certain organizations are not perfect? It's because they're run by people. So if you say, oh no, so-and-so is selfish, what are you saying? You're not saying anything, because that's the condition of the human spirit. That's the condition of humanity. Man is by nature selfish. So how then can you relegate a characteristical attribute to a person's tribe and say, oh, they're selfish? Dwanzi. So let's pray for this country. Moving forward, no pun intended. Do you realize there was a time you couldn't say that? You could say forward. You know, I had people, I'd be in a conversation with someone, I'd say, well, moving forward, and they'll look at me like, what did you say? Why did you use the word forward? Huh? There are many words you can use, Mwewa. You can use ahead. You can substitute that word with so many other words, but you, out of your way of thinking, you've chosen the word forward. Why? It means you are with them. You see how primitive that sounds? I mean, I sound cold, but I'm telling you, that happened. It happened many times. There are times I'd salute on the street. You know, sometimes I do this to the young boys on the street. I'll salute, you know, just to mess around. I'll do this. And every so often somebody, what is this? Are you? What that's anyway? And I'd say, listen, I'm just salute. You see how primitive that sounds? You see what I have to deal with when I'm downstairs? It's crazy. Anyway, I pray for President Lungu. I pray him and I wish him well. He served, but now we are in a different dispensation. And it is our duty as citizens and as children of God that live in a community, a society, to pray for our leaders. Granted, President Hichilema is not going to get everything right. I can tell you that right now. You know why? Because he's human. For example, he's not going to sell that jet. That's just things people say on the campaign trail. It's the truth. I know. You know, it sounds pretty. It sounds noble. But it's just not practical. Why would you sell a jet? It's a presidential jet. You need it. You get to where you need to go faster. What are you going to do? Fly commercial? I don't think so. Guys, I got to go. Let me play this song. Let me play this song for you before I go. Thank you for listening. My Zambia. My identity.
This is who I am. It's who you are.
Tuishivane. Oh, love that. Guys, join me in lobbying that this song be sung at the inauguration. God bless you guys. Good night. Take care of yourselves.
God has blessed us for a reason.
Oh, yes, he has. Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
All we have is not for show.
Good night. God bless. Love you.